Hello, fellow cyborgs. I cannot tell you how ridiculously excited I was to hear that Natalie and Emma are going to be hosting SpringAthon. This is a 2-week readathon from the 4th to the 17th of May, and it's centering on nature books, nature nonfiction specifically, but also allows fiction books to fit in with their prompts, which is very good for me. At first, I didn't think I would be able to participate because I don't own a lot of nature nonfiction. I only have one nature nonfiction on my physical TBR. The rest are books I've already read. And right now, the nature nonfiction books I have on hold at my library are stuck on hold at my library. But I had an idea that I could finally get to an audiobook that Sarai from Sarai Talks Books told me to read years ago. And that is The Invention of Nature, Alexander von Humboldt's New World by Andrea Wolf. The main reason I want to read this is because Sarai told me that the audiobook is really good, and it's also a really good book. It's kind of hard to describe what this is about. It is about Alexander von Humboldt. He was born in the mid-1700s and died in the mid-1800s, and a lot of his ideas about nature have apparently informed so much about what we think of nature and how we interact with it, and even, I think, how we study it. It seems like he secretly shaped how the Western world interacts with and thinks about nature. I don't really know what to expect, except for I'm hoping that it will be fun to read. Reading a nature nonfiction is the main prompt of the readathon. However, there are some other key words to help you guide the rest of your reading if you want to read more than just a nature nonfiction. For Bird, I chose Audubon's Elephant by Duff Hart Davis. This was a fairly recent haul at the very beginning of the year, and this is all about the man Audubon who created these huge, ornately illustrated books called Birds of America. He took on the task of making this book, which is a comprehensive illustration of every bird species in North America. This is a biography of him, but I think it focuses a lot on how he was able to actually fund his Birds of America. I started reading this a few months ago, and then I just kind of fell off of reading it, so I'm hoping that I will actually finish this during the readathon. For water, I've chosen The Riverbank, a sequel to The Wind in the Willows by Kij Johnson. This is part of my Hindsight is 2020 rereading project. I had planned to reread this book this year, and this water prompt is an excellent excuse to do so. I'm hoping to enjoy this more upon reread, since it did not blow me away and kind of disappointed me when I first read it in 2017. For animal, I'm going to try The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I don't think I have seen one person in my BookTube subscriptions who have read this book not enjoy it. However, I am desperately trying to temper my expectations so that the hypeness doesn't interfere with what I actually think about this book. I'm planning on reading this with M.A. Anders, and I'm really excited to get to this since it is a new acquisition on my physical TBR. For plant, I'm going to reread A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, inspired by Siobhan Dowd and illustrated by Jim Kay. I first read this in 2014 from a library copy, since acquired my own copy because I loved it so much and then haven't touched it since. To my knowledge, there is a monster made out of a yew tree in this book, and so that's how I'm getting it to apply to plant. So I'm really excited to have a legitimate reason, in my opinion, to reread A Monster Calls. For travel, I plan to reread Ghostland: An American History in Haunted Places by Colin Dickey. I read this in 2017 and was really underwhelmed by it, though I remember that this takes us to different places in America and explores the idea of hauntings and ghosts and then the reality of what could actually be going on from what I remember. I also remember him talking about different book plots that have to do with gothic or haunted themes and kind of spoiling those books. I didn't love this when I first read it in 2017, but I'm hoping that I can appreciate it more knowing what it is now that I'm going into it when I reread it for the readathon. And then I thought, why not be an overachiever? My TBR is already overly ambitious, but I think I might try to tack this on as well. I plan to reread Roseanne Alexander's Waterfalls of Stars, My 10 Years on the Island of Skomer. I really enjoyed this when I read it last year. This book is made up of 18 chapters that, from what I remember, are quite episodic, which I think then means this will be perfect for reading a chapter a day. Obviously, there are 18 chapters and only 14 days of the readathon, so I'll have to double up on some days, but I think it might be doable. This is the only nature nonfiction I have on my shelves that I've already read that I was interested in rereading at all. So I think I might do that, even though that means that my TBR is very, very overambitious. Thank you, Emma and Natalie, for hosting the SpringAthon. I am overly excited for this. I can't tell you how much fun I had planning my TBR, and I really can't wait to get these books read. Please let me know in the comments down below the one nature nonfiction you would recommend. I definitely could add more to my TBR. Thank you for watching, and until next time, continue to be lovely.